I never thought a simple car ride would turn into the night that changed everything. It was raining hard, the kind of rain that turns highways into rivers of blurred headlights. I gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual, trying not to skid, while my wife, Emily, sat beside me, her fingers tapping lightly against her knee. Something had been off with her lately. Small things, mostly, lingering over her phone, distracted glances out the window, laughter that didn't quite reach her eyes. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking. But a quiet unease had been building in me for weeks, like a shadow I couldn't shake. Then the engine coughed, sputtered, and died completely. Smoke curled from the hood, thin and white, like the car itself had given up. Seriously? I muttered. Could this night get any worse? Emily laughed softly, but it didn't reach her eyes. At least we're in this together, she said, her voice gentle. Her words should have comforted me. And for a moment, they did. But the way she said together carried an uncertainty I couldn't ignore. The storm was relentless, and help wasn't coming anytime soon. We made the decision to walk to the nearest hotel, a small, aging building with flickering yellow lights and cracked pavement. It wasn't luxurious, far from it, but it promised shelter, warmth, and safety. For now, that had to be enough. Inside, Emily moved carefully, deliberately, like every motion carried weight. She placed her phone face down on the nightstand, and I noticed how precise she was, almost cautious. When I reached for her hand, she hesitated. Just for a second, but long enough for my chest to tighten. Emily, are you okay? I asked softly. Yeah, she replied, smiling. Just tired. Her answer didn't match the tension in her eyes. The silence that followed carried more meaning than her words ever could. The room felt smaller than it should, as if the walls themselves were pressing in. The hotel smelled faintly of damp carpet and old wood. Rain pattered against the window with a steady, insistent rhythm. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, the tension between us was even heavier, a quiet storm of its own. That night, in a dimly lit room with flickering lights and rain-soaked streets outside, I realized something unsettling. This was more than a car breaking down. This was the beginning of a truth neither of us had prepared for, a moment that would test the fragile trust we had built over 6 years of marriage. And I couldn't know yet, that by morning, our world would feel completely different. Emily and I had been married for 6 years, and like most couples, our life had settled into a rhythm that felt safe, familiar, almost predictable. We met in college, bonded over late-night coffee and shared dreams, and fell in love in ways that felt inevitable. But somewhere along the line, comfort had quietly crept in, masking small distances between us, things neither of us noticed until now. The hotel room was modest, 2 beds, a small desk, and a window that overlooked the rain-slicked parking lot. Emily placed her phone face down on the nightstand with deliberate care, as though setting it aside could set aside the secrets it carried. I watched her closely, noticing subtle shifts in her expression, the slightest furrow of her brow, the hesitant tilt of her head. Roadside assistance should be here soon, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We'll be on the road again before noon. Emily nodded but didn't meet my eyes. Yeah, that sounds good, she murmured. Her tone carried a weight I couldn't place, something more than exhaustion from the long drive and storm. We settled on the beds, separated by the narrow space between them. The storm outside hammered the windowpane, a constant reminder of the chaos lurking just beyond the hotel's walls. Inside, our own tension hummed quietly, an invisible thread winding between us. I couldn't shake the feeling that the night was more than a simple inconvenience. Something was building, something that had nothing to do with the car or the weather. I tried to engage Emily in conversation, asking about her day at work, the projects she was juggling, even small trivialities we'd usually laugh about together. She responded politely, but her answers were short, measured. I could tell she was holding something back, a truth she wasn't ready to share. And that thought, more than the storm or the broken-down car, made my chest tighten. We sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the rain splash against the window. The room smelled faintly of damp carpet and old wood, a smell that somehow seemed fitting for the tension that lingered between us. I reached for her hand again, and this time, she allowed me to hold it. But even then, there was hesitation, a subtle distance that wasn't there before. Finally, she whispered, almost to herself, I think, some things need to be said. But not tonight. I nodded, uncertain whether relief or frustration should fill me. The night stretched ahead, long and uncertain, and I realized that our small, broken-down adventure had unearthed something far more complicated. It wasn't just a car that needed fixing, it was the quiet gaps between us, the secrets and silences we had tolerated for too long. As the rain continued to drum against the window, I understood that the coming hours would force us to confront truths we had both been avoiding. And whether we were ready or not, the night had already begun to reveal its first lessons. The storm outside had softened into a steady drizzle, but inside the hotel room, the tension was palpable. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone, her thumbs hovering but never typing. I couldn't stop watching her, trying to decipher the unspoken words behind her hesitant gestures. Every silence felt loaded, every glance a quiet warning. Emily, I began, my voice low, careful. Who's been texting you? I've noticed lately. She flinched at my words, her eyes darting to the screen, then away. It's just, someone from work, she said softly, but the uncertainty in her voice betrayed her. I swallowed hard. Her hesitation ignited something inside me, a gnawing anxiety I couldn't ignore. Emily, if there's something you're hiding, please tell me. I can handle the truth, whatever it is. Her gaze met mine, and for a moment, I saw fear, regret, and vulnerability flicker across her face. She took a deep breath, hands trembling slightly. I didn't mean for it to happen, she admitted. It started innocently, and then it became more. The room seemed to shrink around us. My chest tightened as if the walls themselves were pressing in. More? What do you mean by more? Her voice cracked. Emotionally. I started confiding in someone else. Someone who made me feel alive in ways I forgot I could. I never wanted to betray you, Aiden. I never wanted to hurt you. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Betrayal isn't sudden, it creeps in through cracks you didn't even notice, and now it had taken root. The warmth, laughter, and trust we had cultivated over years felt fragile, suddenly teetering on the edge. I ended it, she continued quickly, desperation in her eyes. Before tonight. I swear I did. I didn't have the courage to tell you yet. I thought maybe it would pass. I thought maybe you wouldn't notice. I sat down heavily on the chair, trying to steady my thoughts. The storm outside felt distant now, a mere echo compared to the chaos inside me. Every word she spoke tore at me, yet there was honesty, raw and trembling, in the admission. I don't know if I can forgive you, yet, I said finally. But I'm not leaving. Not tonight. Not while we still have a chance to face this together. Emily's shoulders sagged, relief and fear mingling in her expression. She reached for my hand, holding it firmly, anchoring both of us in the fragile present. We sat in silence for a while, the rain pattering softly outside, letting the moment stretch without forcing resolution. In that quiet, I realized something crucial. The night had changed us. It wasn't just a car breaking down, or a hotel room, or even a storm. It was a confrontation with truths we had both avoided, a test of honesty, trust, and the strength of what we had built together. And though nothing was resolved yet, the first, honest steps had been taken. The storm had finally faded, leaving the world outside damp and quiet. I couldn't sleep. Emily lay across the bed, scrolling silently on her phone, but I sensed her unease matched my own. The room felt heavy, charged with the weight of unspoken truths. I sat on the edge of the chair, staring at her. Emily, I need to know everything, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice calm, though my chest ached with anticipation. Her hands trembled as she put the phone down. She looked at me, eyes brimming with tears, and whispered, "There's more than I told you. It's not just emotional. I've been seeing him." I froze. Seeing him? The words felt foreign, heavy in my mouth. My heart thumped painfully, and the room seemed to close in around me. Yes, she admitted, voice barely audible. I didn't plan for it to go this far, but it did. I've been meeting him secretly for months. The floor seemed to vanish beneath me. I wanted to scream, to ask why, to demand the details, but instead, I sat motionless, trying to absorb the reality before me. I never stopped loving you, she continued, tears streaking her face. It started as a connection, something I didn't realize I was missing. But it didn't erase us. I ended it before tonight. I didn't know how to tell you. I was terrified of losing you. I felt the air leave my lungs in a rush. Anger, betrayal, and sorrow collided inside me, leaving me raw and fragile. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I asked, my voice breaking. I thought I could fix myself first. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, her voice trembling. I wanted to tell you, but every time I tried, I froze. I ran my hands through my hair, silence stretching between us like a living thing. The room was still, the rain replaced by an uneasy quiet that pressed against my ears. I wanted clarity, but all I had was confusion and the sharp sting of betrayal. I need time, I whispered finally, though the words felt inadequate. I don't know if I can forgive you. But I'm not walking away, not yet. Emily flinched, then reached for my hand. Her grip was firm, desperate, anchoring me to her presence. Thank you, she whispered. I don't expect forgiveness. I couldn't keep it from you any longer. For the first time that night, I saw her fully, not just the woman I loved, but the flawed, human person she was. The revelation was devastating, yes, but it also carried a strange weight of honesty. Something had shifted. The night had stripped away pretenses, leaving only truth, pain, and the fragile possibility of repair. I swallowed hard, feeling both the ache and the clarity settle within me. Whatever happened next, we would face it together or not at all. And somehow, that knowledge was both terrifying and necessary. The night lingered long after Emily confessed, but eventually, the storm outside gave way to a quiet dawn. The hotel room, once heavy with tension, now felt strangely still, as if holding its breath along with us. Neither of us spoke for a while, letting the weight of what had been revealed settle into silence. I watched her, the woman I loved, flawed and human in ways I hadn't fully acknowledged before. The betrayal cut deep, but beneath it, there was honesty raw, trembling, and impossible to ignore. I realized then that truth, no matter how painful, was a strange kind of lifeline. I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet, I said softly, my voice tight with emotion. But I'm not walking away. Not tonight. Not while there's still us here. Emily's shoulders sagged, and a tear slipped down her cheek. She reached for my hand, holding it as though it were a lifeline we both desperately needed. Thank you, she whispered. I don't expect forgiveness. I only want honesty from now on. We sat together in silence, the early light filtering through the curtains, painting the room in soft gold. The world outside had moved on, rain-soaked streets glimmered under the rising sun, and cars hummed softly as they passed, but inside, time had slowed, giving us space to breathe, to reflect, to acknowledge the fractures in our trust. Eventually, we packed our things and walked to the car. The breakdown that had seemed catastrophic the night before now felt almost symbolic, a pause, a forced moment to confront reality. The engine roared to life without complaint, as if eager to carry us forward into whatever came next. I glanced at Emily. She looked tired, yes, but also honest in a way that felt raw and real. Let's take it slow, I said, and be open with each other. No more secrets, no more pretending. She nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. Just let things unfold, she whispered, echoing the words she had said the night before. And this time, I understood. Life, love, and trust weren't neat or predictable. They were messy, fragile, and terrifying, but they were ours to navigate, together. As we drove away from the hotel, the sun rising behind us, I realized something important. The night hadn't broken us. It had forced us to face the truth, and in doing so, it had created the possibility of something stronger. We couldn't erase the past, but we could move forward with awareness, honesty, and the willingness to try again. And sometimes, I thought, that alone is enough.